Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for February 21st, 2026. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm the Cashman. I'm joined by Rob Sanderson, Rob, the RT formerly known as the RT Sanderson. I want to give you a couple holidays. There's Card Reading Day and National Sticky Bun Day. It seems quite appropriate for a nice cold February morning. Birthdays today, real quick. Brodus Clay, remember him? He's
I'd
53.
rather not.
Carlito's 47. Tommy Mercer, you might remember him as TNA's Crimson, is 41 today. Hey, interested in roller derby? Want to be a skater, officiate? Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. If you're into the men's team, Flower City Fear, FLOUR. Always looking for volunteers. Season is ramping up. Like I said a minute ago, I'm your humble host, the Cashman. I'm joined by Rob Sanderson. Rob, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I don't know. It's too early still to figure that out, but it's been a good week in terms of the Olympic hockey on both fronts. But yeah, we're already in late February now, so
Yeah,
things
yeah.
are about to ramp up a little bit in terms of some of the wrestling shows and things like that. But um, yeah, this is weird. A weekend with setting an alarm Saturday and Sunday morning. For once, I'm looking forward to getting up at like 7 a.m. on a Sunday, which is really weird. But very much looking forward to that gold medal showdown tomorrow morning.
Yeah, hallelujah. What a great week for hockey. Man, for especially Olympic hockey. What it's been the Olympics have been fun to watch, and hockey, man, yesterday, just the Canadians were down 0-2 going in, in that game, and man, to come squeak that out. I saw some superb acting ability by some players for on the
Nathan
Canadian.
McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon. Absolutely. Maybe some others, but Nathan McKinnon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that was what.
yeah, there's a lot of Finns out there that are not too pleased with that high sticking call amongst other things, and can't say I blame them. I was he lifted the stick, which then ended up in his face, which then had the most dramatic reaction I've ever seen in an Olympic game, at least.
Well,
But
he's been going to an acting coach apparently, because
yeah,
he acted like he got shot. It
yeah,
was
that was something,
yeah,
and it worked.
yeah, it did. Well, it did, yeah, because
Really worked.
because Canada's there, and well, but I'm just excited. It was a fun week, I mean, just both those quarterfinal games for the United States and Canada, or the ones to get into the quarterfinal games, both had to be won in OT, and
Been a lot of OT on the men's and women's side, which has just been fantastic, especially because of how much of the overtime start to finish in these Olympics has been finished in
yeah.
overtime and not the game-winning shots as they're known in international hockey or the shootout, which does not belong in an international game. Just it's not a way to decide things. So
No, I agree. Well, 3-3 is exciting, though. I will say that, that was, and it's been some, and we get the big game. I mean, Canada's the big bully. Well, I shouldn't say that because America had quite a win yesterday, 6-2. So it was,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's probably more bullies on the US team, to be honest. There's some really likable guys on that roster and a couple that maybe not so much.
yeah.
But I hope they get it done tomorrow morning. So
I
uh,
think I recall a dude fighting with somebody who brothers plays with him in Florida. They were on opposite teams yesterday. Somebody from the Canadian team was fighting with someone who I guess shares a locker room with a family member, and so it ought to make interesting. It definitely ought.
yes, including Matthew Kachuk of the Florida Panthers, who is
Yeah,
I'm not going to clarify anything I previously said, but
yeah,
um, yeah. Um, no, I mean it's been cool because I mean I mentioned it a little bit last week, but for for both the men's and women's sides, this is like the ideal year for me in terms of people that I got to call when they were juniors. A lot of the U.S. men that were playing at the National Team Development Program in Plymouth, Michigan, that were they were in our, in addition to all the international events, they were in our conference in the USHL. So
Yeah.
very familiar with a lot of these guys. I've thoroughly been enjoying the Quinn Hughes memes that are all over social media with his haunted look into the abyss of nothing. Basically, every time they catch him on camera, he's just completely zoned out, and social media has done a very good job of making that entertaining this week. So um, hopefully he's good for tomorrow. But yeah, it's been fun. I mean, honestly, like I'm not somebody who always gets crazy into the Olympics. I've always preferred the winter over the summer, but usually I'll watch like a few events or whatever of each. But this has probably been the most I've enjoyed an Olympic Games year overall. So I'm kind of bummed that we're about 24 hours from it all being over. So kind of seems like it flew by, but it's been good stuff. And I
Definitely.
hope the NHL players continue to come back for the Olympics in the future as well. It was there were benefits and there were fun parts about it when it was, college players and things like that, and not the NHL players. Kind of a different dynamic, but this is best on best. I mean, when you get a game that's got Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and all these, Jack Eichel, I guess I'll mention,
Sure.
like all these people that are all going to be in that game tomorrow. Like that's insane. And with some of those guys, we probably won't see them on this big of an international stage ever again. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Crosby specifically. The other guys are young enough, but
Yeah, I was worried about Crosby getting injured there in that semifinal game.
I guess that's true. We might not see him tomorrow, but I gotta believe he dresses
He
tomorrow.
was
There's
dressed yesterday, wasn't he? Wasn't he like cheerleading dressed during the game? I thought I saw him on one of the highlights. But yeah, he looked. Well,
there's he's not somebody that's gonna miss a gold medal game unless literally, I mean, the doctors physically hold him back. I just don't see it. Like I don't know if he'll play a complete amount of shifts or things like that, but he's gonna play. He's the captain of that team. They honestly, it's one of those situations where even if he couldn't take a shift on the ice, he should still be dressed just to be on the bench to be leading those guys. In my opinion. So
I hope Tage Thompson didn't get hurt yesterday. I know that he was held out of the third period of the game.
yeah, I haven't seen an update on that yet. He's been great. I mean, uh, quite the hockey show we got so far this morning. But yeah, I mean, he's somebody that when he came to the Sabres, he was still very unproven at that level, and has become a superstar in the NHL and has not really lost a step in the Olympics, which has been really cool. And I mean, between like those connections, him and Darlene and would have been Lukanen, and then, all the women as well that are either from Western New York or played at Bishop Kearney and stuff like that. Like there's so many connections to this that it's really fun. So
Yeah, and by the way, congratulations to the women for the gold. That was and
yeah.
what they say there was eight connections to Bishop Kearney, or there was four on the team, but there was like other teams had
Six or eight.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. I mean, the amount of talent that comes through that program. I might have alluded to that last week. Like I they don't get enough talk in this community specifically. Athletes that are coming in to play basically prep school and stuff, hockey, and that's something, at those levels, at those ages, it doesn't get a ton of coverage or things like that. But there's some really good players that are coming through that program, and obviously, like as many connections there as you'd find with any other school, related to that Olympic team. And we knew it was going to be a U.S. Canada women's gold medal game, but the game itself was very fun. And we did not necessarily know that it was going to be a U.S. Canada men's gold medal game. And what a way that'll be to close out the Olympics tomorrow morning. So.
Definitely. And then, and not only that, but there's some other great sports like I've been really enjoying curling going on and seeing just the strategy behind it and stuff. There's been a lot of fun stuff.
I mean,
Obviously,
honestly, I'm enjoying just like all the other social media content and stuff that's been going on, like the Sesame Street characters that are at the Olympics filming all these videos, and Elmo continuing to be triggered by Rocco at the Olympics in all these videos. It's amazing. And if you don't know what I'm referencing there, please look it up because
Yeah.
Rocco is just a rock. But
I'm gonna say, and Snoop's everywhere. Snoop is
yeah,
You know, the skater I know, Aaron Jackson, who was in the 1,000 meter and 500 meter, didn't win either of those. Did finish within the top. I got fifth and sixth, I guess. Fifth in the 500, sixth in the 1,000. But Snoop was hanging out with her family the whole time, and bought them jackets and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a fun Olympics, and yeah, it's coming to the end. I mean, I knew it was coming to the end when I got an email from the Sabres saying, "Hey, Wednesday, we got a game." You
well,
know,
there's that. I noticed that, but then also there's been the commercials airing during like AEW, where it's like the NHL is back. They started airing that like 2 days after the Olympics started. It was like the men's tournament hasn't even started yet,
yeah,
but they're like already advertising those first games after the Olympic break. But yeah, one last thing is just shout out. I mean, obviously, I'm really especially happy for some of the women on that team. And John Wroblewski, head coach of Team USA Women, getting that. I can't say medal because the coaches don't get a medal, which is ridiculous. But winning Olympic gold, and you could see his reaction in that moment and stuff. Just like I said last week, I mean, one of my favorite people in hockey ever. It's so cool to see him as head coach of a gold medal winning team at the Olympics.
yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. It's great. I mean, I don't know what. I was telling my daughter, and don't take this against me, guys listening, but I said, it's really hard to be supportive of anything about our country recently, but this is something you can put aside right now and say, I will support USA, obviously, our athletes, and it's just been a fun Olympics, and I mean, I'm sad it's going to end, but it's going to end with a U.S. Canada matchup for gold. I mean, we've seen that a few times, and it's like, and unfortunately, we come out on the downside too often. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's not a game that I'm overconfident as an American going into watching. And obviously they have not won a gold medal in men's hockey during my lifetime, but it's going to be fun. I mean, I consider even if you just even if you just look on paper at the rosters, I mean, I consider Team USA to be the underdog, but it's there's a lot of really hungry guys on that team. So I think it's gearing up to be a classic. I truly hope that one way or another it is not a blowout game. I don't think it will be. So
Very cool. So yeah, it's exciting, and actually, there's some stuff going on today that's exciting too. The curling finals are coming up, and that's been something that's been, I've had, I didn't have the week off, but the school was off for the kids. And so we just had the Peacock app going on our TV in our room the whole week, and just watching some fun stuff, some insane sports like running on skis uphill, man. That is just insane. Some of the sports I was, just watching, and it was like, man, you got to be not one of those athletes had an ounce of fat on them. I swear to God, they have to wear those skin tight suits for everything, speed skating, everything.
well,
So
even cutting weight for the bobsled and stuff too. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say, that I think we've all vented a little bit about how terrible Peacock was for the WWE network, so to speak, the archive and things when they had all of that. But it is cool now that we're in an era of being able to open up that app and just on demand or whatever, like get anything you want from the Olympics. Because obviously that was not always the case. So it's been cool to kind of pick and choose what you want to watch. Obviously similar to wrestling as well, trying to avoid spoilers sometimes when doing that, but it's been cool to see a lot of that stuff. So and I don't know. I mean, I still might go back and watch some of the events that I've just totally missed just because there's so much going on, but a lot of really fun stuff.
yeah, yeah, I saw, and it's funny that I think they said there's 16 events in the Winter Olympics, and there's like 31 in the summer, and they want to like even them out a little bit, so they might bring basketball to the Winter Olympics, which technically basketball is played in the winter, but it's not. But we'll see. I
If
mean,
if I'm in if I'm associated with the NBA, I don't want that at all.
no, they get
Um,
because it's in the
yeah.
summertime and they get off most of the time when it's the Olympics. So, it makes it easier. I mean, remember that was the NHL, the problem they had with the Olympics was they had to take 2 weeks off in the middle of the season, and they didn't want to do that every year,
Right.
because it puts because now the finals will go into June, I'm guessing,
Well, they already do.
yeah, they do
They
now,
they're getting closer and closer to pushing to July, which no, absolutely not. Hockey season,
like playing
I've
in
said this
Florida.
on this show many times over the years. Hockey season is way too long, and that's coming from a hockey guy. So do not make it longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that. And
Oh, our players are in the Olympics this year. We can cut down the amount of games. No, they won't because they'll lose the ticket revenue, but uh,
I'm just
they should.
scared the Sabres will lose some momentum because they had such momentum going in. But it's also been a break for a lot of guys too. Maybe they can get healthy. So, uh,
Yeah, but like in any sport, and also sometimes a too long of a break isn't always a good thing. So we'll see. I am curious to see how they come out of the gates this week. So,
definitely, definitely. So some of the things we want to talk about in the wrestling world.
oh,
Yeah, that's right. And right now it's only you and I. So I mean, no one's going to complain in the chat room. Not until I post this later. But excuse me. I want to talk about they're doing an AJ Styles tribute on Monday Night Raw this week. I want to talk a little bit about AEW in Australia, Grand Slam style. Some news that came out this week that's a little bit kind of neat about AEW and their relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery. And then we got a ton of news. But right off the bat, let's do a little review of AEW Grand Slam in Australia. The a lot of hype, a lot of hype. I mean, they really focused on this like a pay-per-view, and we were kind of hoping they would maybe book it like a pay-per-view too and give us a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, but things unfortunately I think were a little predictable. I mean, if which is unfortunate though. A little predictable and and safe. It was safe booking because I we didn't have anything any titles change or anything like that. And that's kind of what we were talking a little bit about on the show the week before about some of the things we would like to see. One was maybe having the women's tag team titles change hands. That didn't happen. And then we had, obviously we didn't think Kyle Fletcher was going to lose the TNT title he just won, but we also had MJF and Brody King. That was a safe call as well. And then we had Andrade and Hangman, and it just maybe Hangman's the glass ceiling for a lot of people because it was him versus Andrade to take on MJF, and we end up getting Hangman, so we get another Hangman. And not to say I'm complaining because Hangman MJF matches have been pretty good, been but I think that but I mean I wouldn't have had a problem if Andrade had won that as well. Thoughts, and I didn't mention, but Moxley also defending his title against Takeshita, or ended in a time limit draw, which I kind of had a feeling when the time was coming down that that's what was going to happen because I don't think Takeshita is a New Japan champ right now, right? And I don't.
no, he drops the
Oh, he must have dropped it, yeah, because he did not come out with it. That's right. Yeah. So, but still, I think that you still don't want to deter his booking. So, what do you think generally of the show? I mean, I know we were kind of chatting while it was going on a little bit.
it my I was very excited for the card on paper going into the show. Obviously, I had hesitations about it being a show that was going to air on tape delay. And part of that was the making it maybe less likely for titles to change hands. And obviously the spoiler aspect. As soon as we finished the show last week, not even 30 seconds later, I basically had the whole show spoiled for me by I think yeah, I went on Twitter looking for a hockey line chart of all things, and the very first thing that popped up was this suggested tweet that showed Hangman with a contract next to MJF in the ring. MJF had obviously already just wrestled. It's like, okay, so two matches on the show tonight are already spoiled for me just by that one picture. Sweet. Um, and the nature of it, but I would love to see for events like this in the future for them to make it available live on HBO Max. You know, it aired on TNT when it's scheduled to, but I was a lot more positive feeling going into that show than I feel right now. I think that there were some really good matches on the show. Different than I was talking about another recent show. I do think overall the wrestlers delivered, but the booking decisions did not. Um, it's the main one I think I have an issue with is Andrade losing to Hangman. Um, Wanted to see a women's tag title change. I understand the time limit draw with Moxley and Takeshita, and at least it sets up a rematch, and that's fine. But um, I don't know. There's too many rematches going on these days as well. But the show was good, but the choices of who wins, which a lot of times that doesn't matter, but in these title matches and these big storylines going into the first pay-per-view in 3 months and all this stuff, I really it was head shaking booking for me. Really disappointed in a lot of that. And um, I don't know. I think that I was looking forward to a potential Andrade against probably MJF, very unlikely Brody King at Revolution. And instead we're getting another MJF Hangman. And like you said, it's going to be good. It absolutely will be good. But I didn't feel great about it Saturday night. I feel much worse about it now after Dynamite. This stupid stipulation. How do you not learn your
Yeah.
lesson the first time around? Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted it. Everybody has criticized it from the first time around with Cody. It is the dumbest thing to go back to. Absolutely stupid. The worst booking decision that AEW has made in years.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, how I felt about the company a week ago in this moment compared to right now, big change for the worse. Not everything's bad, and it'll be a good match, like I said, but it's just that's really disappointing. That's a match that to be honest, there's part of me that's like considered trying to look into going to Revolution for a variety of reasons, and like after we found out that was the main event, I'm just like, I don't really care much anymore,
So
or
for
that
people
much.
people who didn't see it, we might as well just let them know that on Dynamite this past week, there was a confrontation between MJF and Adam Page, and Adam Page, is trying to get MJF to do it in just more than a regular match. He's like, and he had to put something up to convince him, and what he put up was, if I don't beat you, then I can never take challenge for the title from you again. And that right there is a Cody Rhodes clause that kept Cody in mid level.
Destroyed Cody's it destroyed Cody's run in AEW at that point. Um,
He was trapped in mid card level, for a very, very long time after that, and it's
and
like,
at least they did the right thing at that point after making the wrong decision to do that stipulation in the first place and have him lose. They did the right thing by honoring that, and he didn't challenge again for that title. This time, it's either Hangman wins again with his third reign, and he was just champion up until the summer or whatever, or up until very recently.
yeah, when he lost it to Joe, and then,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so it's either Hangman gets it back again, which I don't want, or Hangman can never challenge again, which I don't want. It's a lose lose all around. I hate it. That the decision to do that with Cody, which Cody has taken a lot of the blame for that whole idea. So props to him for taking that blame. But I have never heard anybody praise that decision doing that with Cody.
yeah.
It was one of the worst decisions made in recent memory in wrestling. Why how do you go back to that? It to me is the most like out of touch, not listening to your fans. I it's so questionable to me that you would like there's other decisions where like, oh, okay, you have this guy win, why are you doing this, whatever. Wrestling goes on. This is a really big deal. This is one of your, you know, homegrown guys in terms of worldwide TV and stuff, and you're you're either destroying his future in that company or you're putting the title right back on him. And I mean, I at this point, I certainly expect it's the latter. I don't think he's going to lose this match now with that stipulation. But I also didn't think Cody was going to lose. So who knows? But it just there's a lot of people that question Tony's booking on a week to week basis, and a lot of that I feel like has been unfair. Um, I think overall it is still the best booked product out there, but this is probably the new winner of the dumbest decision in AEW booking history.
Yeah.
It was the first one was dumb enough, and then it's the definition of insanity. I,
Yeah, yeah. I don't think they really want to go back there again, but so that's why I think maybe it almost guarantees that Page is going to win this then, because then we'll spend the next 3 years of Page's contract talking about how he can never go for heavyweight title again,
but
which
and the thing is like one of the biggest issues with WWE in recent decades is taking a baby face and shoving it down the fans' throats. Somebody who the fans like, but then it's too much and they don't care anymore, or even worse. Uh, this could be one of those situations. Hangman has had a lot of success. There are a lot of other people in that company who could benefit a lot more from having that belt this year than Hangman. It's not going to do much for him, and I fear that it's going to make people get sick of him. And to mention, there's a lot of people right now that are very unhappy or pretending to be unhappy, either way, about him taking a picture with Marty Skrull.
I
Um,
saw that. I saw that this past week, and both of them came, or he came out and defended it, saying, he's a friend outside of the business, and he tried to like say, hey, I understand what people are complaining about, but you can't just turn your back on everybody can't just turn their back on somebody who's their friend when they're in a hard situation. And it's like I saw his explanation on that. And
and I mean,
he
without
didn't have to post it, that's for sure. It didn't have to get posted.
well, Marty's the one that posted it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
that's
Marty
you
didn't.
wonder you wonder the motivation or the thought process or the smartness of that. That whole situation. I don't. There's so much from the speaking out movement that I think was a good thing in wrestling and getting rid of a lot of people that were problematic. There are a lot of people that don't ever want to hear the name Marty Skrull again. And there's some people who defends what he did because technically it was, I guess, kind of mostly or all legal in terms of the UK laws and stuff. But regardless of all of that, take the opinion out of any of that out of the equation. This is not a good time for that one person in the photo to be pushed to the moon again as the face of your company when a lot of his fans right now are like, bro, what are you doing? Like you're like he's one of those more progressive mindset leaders in wrestling who a lot of people have gotten behind because he does the little things like calling it the men's world championship and little things trying to push things along. That picture is something that it brings you back 10 steps. And this is just not the time. I think Hangman should be AEW World Champion again, but I don't think it should be this year at all. There are too many other people who could benefit a lot more from being elevated, who could then be more serious rivals of people like Hangman. I don't get it. MJF just got the belt. You don't have to take it off of him yet. Um, but if you do, I mean, put it on Andrade, put it on
Yeah.
Swerve hasn't had it in much longer than Hangman.
Yeah.
Uh, obviously Omega's there. You've got Osprey coming back sometime soonish.
Yeah.
I just
You
I
can't wait.
really don't understand this.
Yeah, they sit there. I think they have booking plans, and then someone gets hurt, and they don't want to change their booking plan, and so they just kind of like do safe competitions until or do things that are safe that aren't going to jeopardize their long-term booking plans, and then their booking plans go back into action when the person is back. And I think that's what because Joe was integral in this the title picture right now, and he's hurt right now. And they never even really said what happened. It might have been working out or something. He got hurt, but they said that. And so to me, it seems like they're just putting it in neutral for a few seconds until Joe can come back and get involved and do what they originally want. I know WWE used to do that, or they would replace somebody with somebody else, and then they would still go with the same plans. I'm just hoping, I just don't know. Yeah, I don't agree. And I mean, just freshen it up. Not that it's not fresh, but I think, I wouldn't have had a problem with Andrade, and in Andrade, I'll give him a lot of credit. He put on that was a great match. And and he took the 1, 2, 3, and it was it was a clean pin, and I think that it was actually it was a fun show, and it did pretty well in the ratings, obviously with all the hype it got behind it. But yeah, I have a problem in the top there at AEW. I think that I don't know. It
It,
just it's tough right now because no one can get a crack in, and it's like you got to give someone an opportunity, and they do get opportunities, and they lose every time, So it's like you throw someone at, like, for instance, Brody King. I mean, it was a fun match. It had to be inventive for MJF to beat a guy 3 times his size during that match, but it's still,
Brody King could have, like, you could argue whether it be a good idea or not, but there are people out there that subscribe to the any publicity is good publicity thing, where if you had put the belt on Brody King, even for just a month and a day, um, certainly would get you a whole lot more of this mainstream media coverage. Um, MJF, like I said, I mean, like he's not somebody who has to be champion, but it works, and he just kind of got that back. I wasn't even thinking. I knew I was kind of forgetting like one of the pieces in all of this, and you mentioned Samoa Joe, and see that's the thing is like with all of this, I don't want anybody to be injured, and I really like Samoa Joe. I have for over 2 decades. But hearing that he was supposed to be a significant part of all of this right now too is the same thing that bothers me with everything else I'm talking about. He was just champion
yeah.
and had the trio belts and stuff. Like he no, don't put him back in world title matches already. You've got to keep things fresh. I mean, this company is still young enough. You still have too many stars who have not made it to the top or whatever. And maybe that's I don't know. Maybe I'm way too picky about that compared to most people. I know even when I have my hand in booking decisions and stuff, there's a lot of stuff from me where it's just like, why are we doing this again? Why does this person still have the title? Why aren't we doing that? Like this, can we do this? Can we put the title on this person for a month and then take it like that? That's kind of my mindset on a lot of it. And maybe it's too much on one side. Like I would understand if somebody thought that, but um all of these people, except Andrade and Brody, like been there, done that. You have so many other people you can elevate. The title is a tool to help people become faces of your company. And I just don't see how putting it back on Hangman helps anything. Um, at least Andrade got that got a win to advance in everything. And I like that we got the Swerve heel turn. I will give credit to that. That we needed something different like that, some kind of big turn. And so that, I mean, I think can be fun. Um,
And let me
but
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question real quick about the heel turn. Is his manager with him on that? Because it didn't seem like that when it was going down on. If you saw Dynamite this past week, it was a great match between Kenny Omega and Swerve. That I guess originally was intended for the next pay-per-view, but Kenny Omega had plans that he couldn't get out of. And so it looked like that it was completely Swerve's decision, and the manager's like, "What the hell's going on?" I don't know. It was a
I'd have to look back at that to be
yeah,
honest, because I guess I don't really remember looking at Nana in that moment.
yeah.
I mean, there are different ways that this can all play into things, and there are people suggesting that heel Swerve will cost Hangman the match so that he can never challenge again, to kind of respark that rivalry. No, don't do it because it's the same. It doesn't matter how you get to that point. If you take this guy and you make it so he can never challenge again, Stupid. Like
Yeah, I don't
at
want
this
to.
point, you have no choice but to give Hangman the title in that match.
Yeah, I don't want to see staple matches with freaking Swerve and freaking Hangman again.
Well, you're getting Texas Death with
Yeah,
Hangman and MJ. I mean,
push needles through their
unless
chins.
the match is not accepted or whatever. I mean, the whole like, it's one of those things. Just like with the Cody situation, like nobody was forcing you. Like, it should be something where at least like the other person is like, fine, I'll give you this match, but you can never challenge again if you lose. Instead, both with Cody and Hangman, it's like, this is what I'm going to offer. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Nobody asked you to do
yeah,
that.
you're number one
The
already. You know.
like, all right, I'm going to go buy a car, and like I'm like, you know what? I'll give you 20,000 for it. Well, I was only going to ask for 8,000, but yeah, absolutely, give me your money. Like, there's no logic in this. I I have to be as critical as I can be about this because obviously, like, there's a lot of things with AEW that I tend to defend more than other people and stuff. This is so stupid. This is, and this seems to be kind of what happens with AEW, where like they get momentum and then they shoot themselves in the foot. And that's what I feel like is happening here because I have not seen people like super excited about this matchup or the stipulations or even the Texas Death thing, which I think is kind of overdone at this point. Um,
Yeah,
Hangman's not even from Texas,
yeah,
and the
and
show's in LA, but whatever.
like you said, the force face. You're beating. You know, you're gonna force the crew to turn on them. You know, as the more you keep pushing Hangman, the more people are gonna push against. You know, you get
And the
more.
other thing I guess we haven't really mentioned in this too is the other option in all of this is like, okay, so either Hangman wins, which, like I said, shouldn't happen. Hangman loses and can never challenge again, shouldn't happen. Or Hangman loses and you go back on your word and he does challenge again, which is then like, oh, so
Yeah,
now you are going to be like WWE and you're going to go back on things where it's like, oh, well, Vince McMahon's gone from the company and he's back in 2 weeks.
yeah.
CM Punk is gone from like, oh, he's back. Like, you can't do that. Whatever this is, the decision is in this, they better stick with it.
Yeah, it's. I guess it makes it interesting to see what's going to happen in that match. I mean, it may actually draw interest too because it was the worst decision ever to let Cody lose a match in which that stipulation was up. Why repeat? That because it led to Cody leaving eventually because he could only sit in mid card spot. I believe because of that, that's why they created the TBS the
TNT.
TNT title because he
Mhm.
couldn't get a heavyweight title, so they they created a new title for
I mean, yeah, that was so early in AEW.
yeah.
And he was like the guy coming into that company, and immediately she's like, "Oh, he can never challenge again." What do you mean he can never challenge again? You just founded the company.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? It's literally that decision. There's been a lot of stupid booking decisions from WWE, especially in the past 20 years or so. I don't know if there's been a worse decision in booking and wrestling than doing that to Cody. The fact that they would ever do that again with anybody else in AEW, absolutely mind-bogglingly stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid. I
I put it up there with bringing Tessa Blanchard back. Okay. So that was, but yeah, no, I agree. That is, I guess we'll see what happens, but it was a great dynamite besides that, I mean, you got a great couple matches and,
Yeah.
it was a fun show. It's interesting that, when's the pay-per-view? Is it a week from today? Is
The
it,
AEW pay-per-view,
yeah.
March 15th.
Oh, I'm sorry, March 15th. A week from today is WWE's next one. Whatever the cell. What the hell is it called? The
Oh, the Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber. That's a week from today. So yeah, which it's taking forever to get to that point. But yeah, I mean it's been a good week for AEW just to be in the news. But I just felt that the booking was too safe on going to Australia. I didn't, there wasn't, you know, there
Between that and then like the next day they do the house show results were very weird. You they sign the inspiration to a multi-year contract and have them debut at the house show.
yeah.
And then nothing from them on Dynamite. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll be on tonight on Collision, but like you recently debuted Price and Oliver, and we haven't seen them since that first week. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that just doesn't make sense. And I just Dynamite, yes, there was some really good stuff on there. Obviously, Strickland and Omega comes to mind first. And there are other things I really liked, but of course, like show starts with another Moxley match because
Yeah.
we can't have a show without a Moxley match. Uh, Willow retains.
Against Mina Shirakawa, which,
I mean,
yeah,
Megan Bain should have won the title there.
yeah.
Um,
So she got the,
you also at the Australia show debut Lena Cross finally, but then she's not on Dynamite. Like Megan's back out there, Penelope's there, no Lena. Which I don't. I'm assuming there's some kind of visa thing and all of
I
that. But
wonder if they
like,
were having troubles because there were some people that didn't show up on Dynamite that were supposed to. I know some injuries happened, like Chris Statlander. Something happened that she couldn't wrestle after coming back. But yeah, I mean, they were saying something about 30 hours of travel or something. I can't remember. I remember hearing,
well,
uh,
yeah, and some of those people should just get the week off. That's fine. I mean, people that had like the extra grueling weeks going into it. Like, again, I have no problem. I want people to wrestle on AEW no more than once every other week on TV. If you add in a backstage interview or something, fine, absolutely. But um, anything more than that to me is too much. And then again, it's Moxley again, followed by Willow again, followed by Orange Cassidy again. Like, what are we doing? You have a huge roster. You just have debuted all of these people. You have other uh, like those were the first three matches on Wednesday.
yeah.
Like those were all three big parts of your show in Australia a few days earlier, and all surely were a part of Dynamite the last week and all this stuff. Like I, I, I don't get a lot of these decisions. I really don't.
I think they
Um,
wanted, well, I think maybe like they wanted, if you didn't see it, they wanted to let you know that Wheeler Yuta got his head shaved. So they had to work, they
which then
worked,
they didn't show it.
of course not, because it's
Do
going to become,
something that like do something where you at least tease that you like you're going to see it and then you don't. Instead, he's just like wearing the hood and
yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
that was a waste.
Doesn't mean that much when they only took the top off too before he got pulled in the back. So,
I
uh,
mean, that's something that like the fans give you to more heat than anybody. Like, go with that. You did enough to shave his head. Like, at least tease it or have somebody making comments about it or whatever. To then like next week, like the stuff they did with Kurt Angle back in the day was amazing.
yeah,
With the wig under the headgear and all that stuff. Like
a little cowboy
you don't
hat.
have to copy that, but they're like do something with it as opposed to just like forgetting and moving on or not taking advantage of like he's in this backstage interview. Like why wouldn't you
I
do
would
something?
think that they should probably do a bunch of matches in a
Hmm.
row with him where people try to remove it, and maybe eventually someone does, and you get a payoff. It's going to happen, but when he's only on one show a week, and I'm sure he'll be on tonight too as well, that they have to start, I mean, and just to just to give some longevity to that whole head shaving situation, because eventually we're going to get it as fans. We're going to see what it looked like. And then it'll
Right.
be except for all the bald wrestlers who are bald already and will probably like it, like Champa or somebody, like, hey, it looks pretty good. But but yeah, I think that that was a lot of hype for something we really didn't get a payoff. And we started to, and then it just, I didn't want to see, like when Raven got his head shaved, or got his scalp pulled off by what was his name, Mitchell,
James
Father Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
want to.
and I mean, like I do give him credit. I liked when Moxley came out in this kind of still teasing the babyface turn or whatever,
Yeah,
or continuing. I don't know. Maybe he is a babyface now, I
I think
guess.
he
But
is. Yeah,
he comes out and forces Wheeler to get back in the ring and get the head shaved. Like I liked those little details, but yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that's just not followed up on, and I don't know. It, I guess it moves on. But now that pay per view is sneaking up and
yeah.
they've had the opportunity to really. I mean, this is the one time where you have 3 months to build up a pay-per-view and like you've announced your main event and I'm just like, uh really? And then like Moxley Takeshita, like, okay, cool, great. You didn't need to do that match already. Just set the match for the pay-per-view. Like you have so many of these eliminator matches And now in this situation, it's a time limit draw, so we're gonna do it again with no time limit or whatever. Like we just saw the match though. Like
Yeah.
it's not fresh when you do stuff like that. So
I will tell you, Takesh just sold like a champ in that match. I mean, he really, there were some moments where Moxley was just hitting offensive after offensive move. And, I mean, it's just a tease that there might be an ending, but I figured with about 4 minutes left that it was going to end a tie because, not one of those 1-1-2, and then the bell rings before the third hand came down. This one, or like a 10 count out or something, So yeah, we're gonna get it again. But you know what? It was quality, and if we get it with where we actually promise to finish, then that'll make it even better.
well, one thing I'll say from those Australia shows as well is that traditionally you look back in the day with especially in like WWE, WWF house shows and stuff back in the day, you would kind of get to do a match on a house show, see if people have chemistry, kind of get ready to do the match for real on TV against people and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that you wouldn't need to do so in this situation, but at that house show in the house show is Brisbane,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
Konosuke Takeshita against Dalton Castle. You better do that match on television where we can all watch it. God damn it. I don't care. Like, I need that match more than I've ever needed a match. Like,
Yeah.
that's a matchup that I promise I will not complain about them doing rematches and stuff if it gets to that point. But you better do that match at least once where we can all watch it.
I was watching some highlights of Dalton Castle's run in Ring of Honor, and there's this one that I just kills me when he's like being interviewed and he's kind of like laying prone sideways a little bit, and he's pulling cheese out of his.
Yes. Throwing the slices of American cheese. The stuff he and John Morrison did with each other is it is an absolute shame that that stuff was pretty much all on Watch ROH
Yeah.
because there's some hilarious stuff, like the most funny stuff that has ever happened under the AEW umbrella, and a lot of people just haven't seen it, or they maybe have seen a quick clip here and there on like AEW socials or Ring of Honor socials. But oh my God, yes, the throwing of the American cheese.
He's sitting there and he's pulling cheese out of his tights and eating it in the middle of the interview.
We went back this week and watched a clip from like 2 years ago, just um, Dalton and Morrison and Lexi and Taya with the qualms, like just trying to figure out, like just going back and forth is so ridiculous, but like it's so entertaining. So
It is. Hey, I loved some of that. Some of it's great stuff, and yeah, I mean, I love it when he comes out now and he goes, I have a friend in the front row." He's talking to the camera as he's walking out. And it was like that musician. I think they were trying to plug at the time, so it was.
there's a lot of little Easter eggs and the things he says and stuff. Yeah, it's a good time. I really wish he was on the main roster, so to
Yeah.
speak.
I like when he gets an opportunity because he doesn't swing and miss. He always he puts on quality matches and puts on quality shtick to go with it if he's
uh,
doing it.
he hasn't like I was very, very, very happy when the old ROH put the world title on him, had him beat Cody, won that belt. I
Yeah.
mean, it was amazing. And unfortunately, then he was injured through most of that title run. But to me, it's hard to think of somebody who is a better combination of both amazing wrestler and absolutely hilariously entertaining.
Yeah.
He should be in a much more prominent spot than he is. Period. Like
Well,
that to
yeah.
me that's a miss if you don't use him more than you have.
Oh, and they're keeping him there. I mean, there's definitely a reason why they're keeping him fresh too in Ring of Honor as well because he can move up very easily when the opportunity, especially if they want to. I mean, he could do the real heel side of Dalton Castle too, and just start messing with people mysteriously and stuff, and then just have him pop up. So it wouldn't surprise. There's a lot of good things that can happen. So it's like, yeah, but yeah, I was just going through and looking at some old videos, and I was just laughing my head off. So let me talk about another thing. Sorry folks, the first 20 minutes was hockey, but this Monday night on Raw, the WWE, in hindsight of AJ Styles retiring, decides to now give him a ceremony to send him off. I'm really I think that they were kind of forced into it because they didn't think it was such a big deal when AJ lost at the Royal Rumble and he was done and that was it. And there wasn't any John Cena loses, and I'm not going to compare the two, though I will say AJ was a much better wrestler in his entire career than John Cena. But John Cena loses, and the ring fills with people congratulating him and doing all this stuff and everything. And then AJ loses, and he just gets the crowd adulation and then walks back slowly to the ring. Never really got, and I mean, apparently he's legit on this. He does not want to continue on. And, I mean,
Uh,
I don't know because he said he wanted to retire after WrestleMania 41, and that was a couple of years ago. So that's what I guess came out in the quote unquote Stephanie McMahon interview that they started. It's interesting that Stephanie McMahon interviewed him right after he lost and was done, and then now this week on her show is Royce Keys talking about growing up and stuff, trying to do like the JR backstage interview type thing, trying to get the guy over a bit. But
well, and I mean, again, I don't watch the product, but I've seen that they haven't done anything with him since the Rumble, which is insane. Another one of those situations, you make a debut, you make a big deal out of somebody coming into your company, and then where are they?
yeah.
It's like Paul and Tony are kind of they're on the same wavelength with their talent sometimes.
That's well, when you were mentioning that earlier, I was thinking about that because
Yeah.
but he did show up last night in an interview segment, quote unquote, on
Okay.
SmackDown. So it's been a
Okay.
couple of weeks since the big debut. I mean, heck, almost a month because we're virtually at the end of February. So
Yeah, I don't foresee myself being somebody who's going to tune in a lot to this Stephanie McMahon podcast, but I did listen to about two-thirds or so of the one with Hobbs, Royce Keys
yeah,
so far. And just because like knowing that we never really got full details on it, but knowing that he's just got a crazy life story. And it's interesting stuff. Not necessarily good stuff, whatever. He's been through a lot, but I I don't know. I will finish that podcast at some point because that's one that's worth checking out.
they did highlight the some of it last night when they were playing it, including the was he from St. Louis area? I think he was talking.
No, he's from East Palo Alto,
That's what it is. He's just talking
the
about like,
Bay
some,
Area.
some of the
The
dangers in his life, that were going
Oh
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of close people to him that have gotten in serious trouble, have been killed, all that kind of stuff, and um, having family members. Like it's a crazy story. It really is. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one
Yeah.
to
So
listen
so
to him talk about.
yeah, definitely. So, but I did mention that. So, like, after a month after AJ Styles retired, they decide they're going to have a retirement ceremony for him on Monday Night Raw. Now, you would think in the world of pro wrestling that when you have a retirement ceremony for somebody who's been retired for a month now or almost a month, that this is just a phony thing to create a new matchup for him for WrestleMania. But he legitimately says he's not coming back. So apparently they're bringing in people, a lot of special people in during for this retirement ceremony on Monday. We'll see what that means. Are we going to get another Dixie Carter appearance? I hope not. But I mean, that would be, that but who knows, but it's so I just find it that it's interesting. I think maybe that the powers that be are like, man, he was a big deal. Maybe we should have done something for him because it was his last match. And now they're in hindsight trying to schedule something on the fly because he really didn't get honored. I would be insulted. They said that, and he had said in the interview that he was negotiating a contract when he decided to retire. So it was like, it was his choice, and he could have signed for another bunch of years, but he's what, 48, I think it said, or he said, and it's, uh, I don't know. I mean, AJ Styles, I'm a huge fan, obviously been, for since the beginning, he was, and it's sad to see him go, but he's in great shape. I mean, he probably won't have too many injuries because he looks like, he looks like he can still go every time we see him wrestle. So, but it's just weird.
Well, is this the next thing where they're just like, oh, well, then we're going to swerve people because we've got this Unreal show that I don't think
It
he
could
wrestles
be.
again in WWE. I would hope that I don't know that they again don't go back on a stipulation, but I also I have I still have hope that he wrestles again outside of WWE. Um, I think that's still a possibility, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
after Monday we'll have a better idea. But
Yeah, I'm just scared that maybe they did sign a new contract and he's coming back and it's like or he's being true to his word, and if he is, then I'm curious as how they're going to celebrate him because I saw they had like unedited video, or not unedited, but it was a backstage video from the night he retired where everyone is coming up to him and wishing him well, and Charlotte Flair was bawling because apparently they're good friends. This obviously Monday nights in his hometown or close to his hometown in Atlanta. So it may, we'll see what it does. But I mean, I've always will be a huge fan of AJ Styles. I always think, he he kind of evolved with the business. Never a great promo, and for many many years was a terrible promo. And he kind of learned to do what he could do to make a good promo, and he does a great job. I think it's like it's I see we've seen he's a guy that WWE. I guess in the interview with Stephanie McMahon, he talked all about how he got a contract offer when WCW went belly up, but they wanted him to go to Ohio Valley Wrestling, and that's where their NXT was at the time, or their developmental was at the time, and they were going to pay him less than he could make on his own doing independent stuff. And plus, he said his wife wasn't going to college, and he just couldn't pick up and leave, and which was a great thing, probably the best thing for him because he became a huge underground success before he ever joined WWE. I mean, he didn't have to go through their school of hard knocks down in the minors, because I mean, first of all, he could already wrestle when he was in WCW for that very short time. He could already wrestle, towards the end of WCW's life. But I find it interesting that he talks a little bit about stuff like that. And I think, I mean, I know he may have talked with us, I know we had him more than a few times on the show. And I know that he's told us the story about not going to Ohio Valley because, I mean, just because it was taking a huge pay cut and, so but this might be the last time we see him on WWE TV. I know they wanted to bring him in as a producer, and that may eventually be what he becomes, or he retires and or he doesn't want to go out and wrestle some people that aren't in WWE, which, like you said, I'm hoping happens. But that is going to be on Monday night, and so it's going to be interesting. What I mean, anytime, like I said, anytime something is like a ceremony on Monday Night Raw, I really have a lot of not a lot of faith in anything that happens on TV, especially after I didn't think AJ was going to retire, but he did. So we will see what happens on Monday night. But it brings me up. I know you haven't been following closely, but they've had this giant crate backstage the last couple of weeks where there says don't open until February 28th, and there's a crate in the back. Um, yeah, I
was
know.
that Rowan's robot spider again?
Yeah, it was that's right. Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
The
Someone,
gobbledygooker,
yeah,
maybe.
someone said that this is has Vince McMahon's fingerprints all over it. So I hope that has nothing to do with what this is, but this, that is a wrestling, gimmick thing. And, we'll see what happens, but they also have the masked wrestler going around attacking people too. So there's a lot of, you can see that WWE is a little bit desperate and grasping again, once again for creative by, having, leaning on that masked wrestler, taking people out from Paul Heyman's group. Um, I don't know. I'm not, it's like they've already did that once and then unveiled it as a guy, 2 months ago, so it was like, then they're doing it again. I don't get, sometimes I don't get, and I don't want to say that, someone, who was it? Someone, I saw an interview with somebody that said that WWE is on the verge of the biggest youth movement in their company in the next few months because Javon Evans, they've got all these people coming up from NXT who are now on their main shows. And it's like,
Is
I
this
think
something like Triple H said? Like, oh, we're gonna enter a new era. Or we're in a new era.
he
Did he
said
do
that
that
three
again?
times in the past year. No, no, it was somebody else.
A lot of new eras.
Yeah, new eras are insane. But so I just wanted to mention the AJ Styles thing. What else did I want to talk about? Hold on, let me look one more thing. If not, I'm just going to jump to news here in a second. Oh, this is one thing too. So in this past week, it was AEW News. They had a development that uh, Warner Brothers Discovery holds a minority ownership stake in All Elite Wrestling. This had been rumored for years, but it was in the CNN report this past week, and so that kind of changes. There was always last week we talked about the rumors that the F Ice chant there was keeping Brody King off TV, which obviously didn't because when Brody King was backstage on Dynamite this week, that's all you heard was the Ice. So that's his chant now, whether he likes it or not. But thought that Warner Brothers Discovery, asked them to take him off because of having to block, but they didn't block those chants at all. I did have some glitches going on with Dynamite this past week. They might have had like some satellite issues or something because I never saw there was like a little gap jump when Super Kick happened when they took out what's his face manager
Stokely. Yeah.
Stokely, yeah, when they took out
Yeah.
Stokely, so it was kind of like blipped on my TV when that happened, so I never really saw it until I
There's
saw
some people that think that that specifically was intentional, for attacking somebody in a wheelchair, but I don't know if that's the case.
that's a good question because
If they had an issue with that, I don't see why it would happen in the first, like why I don't know. But yeah, no, definitely that none of us actually saw that.
I saw
Um,
I saw someone who had posted it later from the crowd, and it was beautiful, but I did not see that when I was watching. So, but that was people are so
did
people.
anybody from the crowd post how he got into the ring
I
during the
was trying to
commercial
see that
break?
they must have
Because I'd
lifted
like to
him
know
up.
that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
The wheelchair in first, and then he floated up in the air
brought
or
in a lift
something.
to bring it over the top of the ropes, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. You just don't show up in a ring. So, but the CNN report was examining AEW's broader media footprint, and which included Grand Slam Australia. And in the public discourse, they did admit that they own a stake in AEW. So it's very interesting because with the whole Warner Brothers Discovery trying to be sold, and I guess the Netflix deal is off now, or I heard it's being held up now. There's lawsuits against it, which I don't have a problem with because I don't want to put AEW and WWE in the same streaming service. So but did you see that? I mean, does that surprise you that Warner Brothers Discovery has a small interest in the company? Like
uh,
they
no.
probably had to do
Um,
that to get them on TV, probably.
yeah. I mean, I am curious, like what percentage it actually is, and if it truly means anything in terms of the decision making and stuff. But um, not a huge surprise. But I guess my question is like, why was that hidden? Like because it's definitely something that Tony has kind of uh danced around when asked about over the years and stuff, and it's like, what's the big deal, I guess. Like now it's a bigger deal than I think it would be if that had just been immediately disclosed. So I don't know, it's not like, to me it doesn't really change anything in my mind, just because if we ever get to a point where AEW is being shopped around or ends up on a different network, Tony's got the money to make up for whatever Warner Brothers is contributing, I would think.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. I mean, no,
uh,
I would agree. So I think that
I
was
mean, Tony could probably just buy Warner Brothers. So
no problem. Or well, I mean, we're talking like billions of dollars, so it's like maybe his dad could. But that I thought that was definitely an interesting piece of news. I didn't think. I mean, it was been rumored about forever. So I mean, everyone felt that and they wonder why a company like Warner Brothers Discovery keeps giving AEW different shows and opportunities to do different things, and it's like, well, maybe because they have a little say in what's going on. So yeah, makes 100% sense. And also, it makes me more confident in the company if you got a big conglomerate like that wants a piece of you. So, kudos to all those guys. So, I'm going to jump into the news before we get out of here. That was one thing that I wanted to talk about. Oh, so what do you think about this? I know you probably don't care. I'm sure a lot of people probably don't, but There was a long rumored super fight that officially became set this past week in MMA with Ronda Rousey taking on Gina Carano. It'll return. They're going to be fighting May 16th for at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California. This will be the first professional MMA event promoted by Most Valuable Promotions. And if you don't know who those guys are, you might Jake Paul, I believe, all his fights.
Uh,
That's his fight
I mean,
company.
I wish I didn't know him, who he
Yeah.
was. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah, unfortunately, but so Jake Paul, so they're gonna, so apparently Ronda Rousey pitched this to Dana White from UFC, and he wasn't interested. So, but Ronda Rousey, see, when Gina Carano was like the first, I know Gina Carano. Yes, we have problems with Gina Carano's, thought process at times, but Gina Carano was an MMA
and
fighter,
Ronda's, but yeah,
and Ronda's
to
as
a
well.
different extent. Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, but Gina was like the first female prominent wrestler, prominent fighter that kind of made UFC look at using women fights because they never had a women's fight before Ronda Rousey fought in UFC. So, and Gina Carano was kind of like, play Lead XC and like all these other companies was like just the person they put on the top of the card because one she was very attractive and two she go out there and she like fought like crazy so and she never fought Ronda Rousey so they're doing this as kind of maybe this is kind of like a fantasy matchup or something but it's going to happen. It's going to take place at 145 pounds, which I hate to say, but I think Gina Carano is going to have to lose some weight. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm a terrible man for saying that, but that's the fight. That's back in the old days of UFC, they used to have little guys versus big guys. Now they have to match them up in weights, and so. But this is going to happen 5 5-minute rounds on May 16th. I'm sure it'll be a big deal because Ronda Rousey is the one who made women's fighting in UFC, so. But that means Ronda's not going to come back to WWE, which is probably not a bad thing. That last run was terrible. Some other news.
I don't think a lot of people want to see her come back. All I'll say is like that I'm not an MMA guy,
Yeah,
but there was a time where I went out of my way more than once to see a Gina Carano fight. Before we really learned who she really is.
yeah,
And so she did have that kind of, I don't know, name, celebrity and stuff. I think some of that, from the newer American Gladiators,
yeah,
which also Hulk Hogan. Yeah, there's a lot of problems looking back at that, but
that movie.
um, it's yeah, I have zero interest in that fight whatsoever. I guess the only thing I wonder, like, and that would be a whole nother discussion that I'm sure somebody could explain to me well, but like in this situation where it's not really for a company, it's not really a title on the line, whatever, it's just a fight to make money on Netflix or whatever. Does the weight really matter?
You
Like
know,
if
you're,
you're if they're agreeing to fight each other, then just fight each other. Like I don't see the need for that. Like if there's a title on the line and this is like a legitimate sporting thing with two contenders that have built their way up, blah blah blah, and then they're gonna fight somebody else, whoever wins the belt. So, like okay, but like in this situation, who cares? Just let
yeah.
them fight.
I think the
Especially if it's gonna end up being fake anyway. Who knows?
yeah,
I don't know if this one has a storyline of like, oh well, Tyson's gonna take the fall or something like that. Like I don't know if one of them has more motivation
yeah.
financially or whatever, but
And
yeah, I don't know.
anything promoted by Jake Paul makes me raise an eyebrow too. So I will say that I think that because of athletic associations, you have to do equal weight limits on fights and stuff like that nowadays. That's part of the deal. So that legalized it when there was illegal at one point. That's when they used to have like 500-pound guys taking on 140-pound guys. And so that kind of was like what they had to give up to be able to make MMA legal. I don't know if that's much behind it, but I guess we'll see what happens. It's in May, so it's a bit from now. If you're going to be watching wrestling tonight, we have a live AEW Collision. It's going to be tonight. It's taking place in Oceanside, California, at the Front Wave Arena. Of course,
San Diego.
what's that?
It's in San Diego.
On Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be taking place 8 p.m. On TNT and HBO Max. We're going to see Claudio Castagnoli versus Josh Alexander for the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship, which they promoted. These two guys have similar builds and have, I'm kind of interested in see what kind of fight comes out between the two because they really are, it's like Claudio doesn't get a lot of guys his size, as tall as he is, and this guy, both body shapes and everything. It ought to be a good fight tonight. I'm excited about that. We got Hangman, Jet Set Rodeo, Hangman Page, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey versus the Demand, Ricochet, Toa Leone, and Bishop Khan for the AEW Trios titles. Those infamous trio titles. And Thunder
Wow, they're
Rosa,
actually
yeah,
one of the sets of belts is actually being defended.
yeah.
Imagine
And
that.
I was gonna say, and the returning Thunder Rosa is taking on Julia Hart, and you saw Thunder Rosa on Dynamite this week. It's nice to see Thunder Rosa back, actually coming out. I guess that's when we found out that Statlander has something going on that didn't allow Statlander to wrestle because she was originally supposed to wrestle on Dynamite and did not. So hopefully, but we'll see Thunder Rosa versus Julia Hart. So that's I think that's really pretty cool. It's going to be a good show tonight. There's probably more than that, I'm sure. So I
I don't
had
know if anything else has been announced, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously will be more. But
yeah, you got three for a 2 hour show that usually goes over 2 hours. That's for sure. We had ratings come out this week. Nothing was outstanding except for NXT had a huge number this week. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was like just because nothing else was on Tuesday, but they went up over 100,000 viewers in 1 week on CW. So congrats to them. Former WWE employee Kerwin Siffles, who he died this past week at the age of 75 on Tuesday. He's a guy who was a producer, TV producer, a director for WWE for many, many, many years. In fact, I guess, one of the people I keep seeing this fact brought up about him is that when, um, what's his name? Guerrero. What was,
Kerwin White,
yes,
Chavo Guerrero.
Chavo Guerrero was called Kerwin White when he came out and tried to do the golfer bit.
Mhm.
And that was named kind of after Kerwin, but Kerwin, I just saw that he had passed away in Florida from battled private health issues, and he got a mention on AEW. So I mean, this guy was pretty groundbreaking. If
I props to AEW for giving that time, especially for like Danielson to talk and everybody else and putting that on socials and stuff. I thought that was really classy. So
yeah, definitely, definitely. So, AEW released a press release saying when Double or Nothing will be held Sunday, May 24th in Queens, New York, at the Louis Armstrong Stadium. So they're moving on from where they used to be.
I don't know if
But
if that's the same like complex or not. I'm not really a tennis guy, but
yeah,
yeah,
not the
different
Arthur
venue.
Ashe.
But again, I like that they're going to something that's not just your traditional NHL NBA arena. So
Yeah, so that and it's a 14,000 seat stadium still. So we'll see how that goes. WWE had to match by saying that they put an announcement saying that they're doing the Clash in Italy on May 31st in Turin, Italy, at the Inalpi Arena, and that's they'll be. So I'm sure we'll get the pay per view at 2 in the afternoon or whatever. It's the same Olympic as the Olympic time difference. I think it's 6 hours. So not only that, but they're doing like a 2 week tour of Europe. They're doing Barcelona, Spain, Turin, Italy, two spots there, Strasbourg, France, Lisbon, Portugal, Madrid, Spain. This is quite the tour with the ending Monday, June 20th. Or actually, June 8th is the last. They're doing a Raw from in Paris, France. So, oh Lord, do we get to listen to Randy Orton's song over and over again? But then 2 weeks later, they're going to be doing a Raw in the O2 Arena in London on June 22nd. So they've got, I don't know, they're probably going to come back to Europe because that's almost 14 days later that after their last show, unless they put in some more shows while they're in Europe. So you can look for Raw to be on weird times during this run here between the end of May and the end of June. Um, Kudos to them. Long wait for Bianca Belair's return. She hasn't wrestled since a triple threat match, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky at WrestleMania. Apparently, Rhea Ripley landed on her finger and crushed it to the point where she had to have surgery yesterday. Ended up having and it's fixed and everything, but it crushed. I've seen pictures of her crushed hand. It was gross. I mean, the way apparently the way Rhea landed on it just destroyed everything. So they had to rebuild her finger. And so that's what's kept her out. I mean, we're talking, this is WrestleMania last year. So it's all, it's she definitely not going to be back before this year, I'm guessing, because that's pretty crazy. She did have successful surgery yesterday, though. I mentioned Thunder Rosa is back, and we'll see Thunder Rosa wrestling tonight on Dynamite. So you definitely want to look for that. She hasn't Rosa hasn't been has been absent since All in Texas 2025. So it's been quite a while. And
When I heard that, I was like, I remember her working that show in Texas, but just because she wasn't around for much before that and stuff, and she's had all of these absences, I honestly like, if you had asked me when was the last time that Rosa was on TV, I would have been like, I don't know, years.
yeah,
Um, so
I can't
hopefully
remember.
this is a longer stint this time. I have to dip out before you finish the news. I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to Kevin Blackwood, who last night had his final wrestling match. Buffalo native, awesome dude who did a lot in this area. That was free on YouTube with Prestige Wrestling was their final show. So originally I was going to go to bed early last night, and then I was like, oh, I got to stay up for this West Coast match because it was Blackwood's final match, and it was great. And
Also,
GCW this Friday.
that's right. Brody Lee Jr. You'll be there, right?
I will be there.
That's this
Yep.
Friday. You don't want to miss
We'll
it.
have the call on Triller TV and 8 o'clock Eastern. And there were a couple switches to the card. I know there's still much more to be announced, but Cheech will challenge Atticus Cogar for the world title. Beastman will challenge Otis Cogar for the ultra violent title in the state of New York, which will be interesting. And the Blade returns to GCW to take on Jimmy Lloyd, which is kind of ridiculous on paper. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So, but yes, Brody Lee Jr. will be there
Yeah.
and much more. So that is Friday night at Water Street, GCW. I forget the name of the show. What's your name? Maybe some, I don't know.
Something like that. It's what's your
It's one
name?
of those
Yeah,
shows
you're
that
you're right.
that's
You're right.
named after like a rap song. But yeah, we'll have that on Friday.
Hey, Rob, you have a great week, brother. We'll talk to you. I'm going to
You
finish.
too, and let's go the team from this country tomorrow morning in the men's gold medal game.
USA, USA, USA. All
That's
right.
the one.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. So I wanted to mention before I get out of here, a couple more news pieces. WWE blackout policy appears to be expanding. I didn't get into this last week, but they're doing a blackout policy, so no local bars or any establishments can show like WrestleMania in Vegas, the weekend of WrestleMania. Same thing's happening with the Elimination Chamber in Chicago. They're not licensing bars to show the pay-per-view. Now that used to be a big deal in the day. You could fill a bar if you promised to show them a pay-per-view, and believe me, we did it for years here in Rochester at the Garage Door. And I want to thank them so much for all the times they let us come out and host and give things away and watch wrestling and freaking cheer and cry and do all that stuff. So, but it's happening again. They're blacking it out in places. So if you're going to be in Chicago area and you want to go out to watch pay-per-view, I would suggest you just buy the ESPN app and watch it at home. Same for WrestleMania. So definitely check that out. So there's a couple more things I want to mention, then we'll get out of here. Anna Jay's AEW future may be coming into focus as new details emerge regarding her contract status and potential outside interest. There was a report in December indicating that her deal is set to expire in the spring, which we're almost there. With this timeline approaching fast, we've noticed she has not been on TV, on AEW TV since Blood and Guts last year. So she remains off TV, speculating that she is shopping around, and she has been talking with WWE. So Anna Jay could become a WWE wrestler or re-signed by AEW. I'm most likely she'll go to NXT if she does get signed by AEW, and they'll find some crazy name to change her name to. Tiffany Stratton's preparing for a big contest outside the world of WWE. The former WWE Women's Champ released a video on TikTok where she revealed that she'll be competing in a bodybuilding contest in 9 weeks. Congratulations to her for that. She's got an incredible body already. I'm guessing, it can't hurt. That's for sure, to get in better shape. And she's in excellent shape. If you saw her last night in SmackDown. If you've got nothing going on Sunday, and you want the regular ESPN channel, is showing the Royal Rumble, or at least a 3-hour version of it. Sunday, at 8 p.m. on February 22nd on ESPN. They are showing the Royal Rumble. They're doing a little test to see maybe if it gains any traction. And one last thing, and I'll get out of here. Actor Paul Walter Hauser. You might remember he wrestled in AEW. He wrestles GCW, a bunch of other places. He's revealed that he's officially attached to portray Mick Foley in a planned limited television series, bringing him one step closer to landing what he describes as a dream role. He was speaking with he was interviewed and he said the project has not yet been taken to market or sold to a network. The wheels are firmly in motion. The news comes after years of discussions between Hauser and Foley about possibility of telling the hardcore's legend story on screen. So, you might see the Mole Man from the Fantastic Four being Mick Foley. I would not have a problem with that. I'd be very excited. So that's the news, folks. And I'm sorry we weren't streaming today. There were some issues going on, and I'll figure it out before next week. But I will post the video. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys tuning in and listen to the show. We'll have a great one next week, and hopefully we'll be streaming. I'll figure it out, folks. I just didn't have time 2 minutes before the show started. So I'm going to say, please, we'll be back same bat time next week, same bat channel, and body slam someone you love. See ya.